the stories making the headlines at this hour. Arctic cold air is sweeping across South Korea, with most parts of the country seeing sub-zero temperatures, while the feels-like temperature in Seoul falls close to -20 degrees. Down in Jeju, more flights are canceled due to heavy snow. Israeli forces conduct intense strikes on Khan Younis in southern Gaza, leaving dozens dead. A group of 5 Arab nations are pushing for a peace deal between Israel and Hamas based on a two-stage solution. U.S. stocks rallied on Monday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average topping 38,000 for the first time, while the S&P 500 also reached an all-time high. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also rose on positive economic sentiment. Good afternoon. We start with the Arctic cold sweeping across South Korea. Most parts of the country are seeing sub-zero temperatures, while more flights are canceled in Jeju due to heavy snow. The extreme weather will continue till tomorrow. Younis reports.
Most regions in South Korea are experiencing intense cold as temperatures plunged to well below zero. Seoul's temperature on Tuesday morning fell to almost -14 degrees Celsius, with a feels-like temperature close to -22 degrees. In the northwest of Gangwon-do province, the early morning temperature dropped to -25 degrees Celsius, while Pyeongchang-gun County, which is hosting some events for the Winter Youth Olympics, saw temperatures drop to -20 degrees Celsius, with a feels-like temperature of almost -30 degrees. Heavy snowfall and strong winds across Jeju led to the cancellation of 97 flights as of Tuesday morning at the island's international airport. This follows the 35 cancellations on Monday. Passenger ship services are partly operating, and all trails of Hallasan Mountain are completely restricted. Cold air that has been sweeping down from the north since early on Monday has brought temperatures sharply down. The capital region, Chungcheongdo, and Gangwon-do provinces are all under a cold wave alert, with authorities saying that finding effective ways to keep warm is essential. Meanwhile, the west coast is also seeing heavy snow. As sub-zero temperatures are expected to continue throughout the day, authorities advise people to be cautious when driving on icy roads. The nationwide daytime highs are expected to be between -9 degrees and 1 degree Celsius. The Korean Meteorological Administration anticipates Wednesday to be the coldest day, but after that, it is anticipated to slowly get warmer, and normal temperatures are expected from Friday. Yeonhee, Arirang News.
Israeli forces conduct intense strikes on Khan Younis in southern Gaza, leaving dozens dead. A group of 5 Arab nations are pushing for a peace deal between Israel and Hamas based on a two-stage solution. Xinjiang has more.
Despite Israel stating that it had shifted to low-intensity offensives in Gaza, its military on Monday conducted intense airstrikes in Khan Younis in southern Gaza, which left dozens dead. There was also fighting on the ground between Israeli soldiers and Hamas fighters, with residents saying that tanks had surrounded a hospital and university where thousands of displaced people were sheltering. Khan Younis has recently been the focus of the Israeli military, an area it says is where Hamas commanders are holed up. On Sunday, Israel also reported that it had found an underground compound in the city where it believed about 20 Israeli hostages had been held. Amid the ongoing conflict, a mediation plan by a group of Arab countries to end the war between Israel and Hamas is taking shape. According to the Wall Street Journal on Monday, 5 Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia, will soon reveal the framework to Israel. An official involved with the mediation process said this latest plan is different from the previous plan, which saw prisoners and hostages exchanged. He added that the final goal is a two-state solution involving the establishment of a Palestinian state. The White House said Monday that President Joe Biden still believes in the feasibility of a two-state solution despite opposition from Israel. According to White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, Biden believes there is a way to get Israel to agree to the plan and is optimistic about it. However, he stressed that such a plan requires compromise. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, on Monday also echoed the need for a two-state solution, saying Israel's plan to destroy Hamas in Gaza is not working. Ahead of talks with Israeli and Palestinian top diplomats, Borrell said Israel cannot build peace only by military means, echoing Washington's criticism of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's rejection of a two-state solution. 이승재, Arirang News.
The U.S. and the U.K. have conducted a second joint operation to target Houthi military facilities in Yemen in their latest attempt to stop Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. The Yemeni militant group says their attacks are in solidarity with Palestinians as Israel strikes Gaza. Yeon reports.
On Monday, U.S. and U.K. forces carried out another round of strikes in Yemen in an effort to halt the Houthi attacks that threaten global trade and the lives of innocent mariners. Marking the second time the two allies have conducted coordinated retaliatory strikes, they bombed 8 locations used by the Iran-backed Houthis, with support from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands. According to a joint statement signed by the 6 countries, the coalition forces carried out attacks on an underground storage site and locations associated with the militant group's missile and air surveillance capabilities. Claiming to stand in solidarity with Palestine in the Gaza conflict, the Houthi rebels carried out more than 30 attacks on international shipping since mid-November, while the U.S. began striking the Houthis earlier this month in response to their attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. Washington's strategy on Yemen is a blend of limited military strikes and sanctions that appear to be aimed at preventing a wider conflict in the region, while also seeking to punish the Houthis for their attacks on Red Sea shipping.
We also designated the Houthis as a specially designated global terrorist. That allows us some additional economic levers that we didn't have available to us before, and we'll keep reviewing our options going forward. Again, I'll say it, the Houthis need to stop these attacks. They can make that choice.
Meanwhile, the U.S. military denied claims by the Houthis that they had attacked the American military cargo ship, the Ocean Jazz, in the Gulf of Aden. The U.S. Naval Forces Central Command said it had maintained constant communications with the vessel throughout its safe transit. The Houthis said that retaliation against any new aggression is inevitable and will not go unpunished. Yeon, Arirang News.
Russia has blamed the West for prolonging the war in Ukraine. Speaking at a UN Security Council meeting convened at the request of Russia on Monday, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov slammed the West for providing military support to Ukraine, which he said is hindering peace negotiations. Before the meeting, representatives from 46 countries, including South Korea, the US, and Japan, and the EU, issued a joint statement accusing Russia of hypocrisy and called the meeting a distraction. The diplomats pointed out that Russia's use of North Korean ballistic missiles is a violation of UNSC resolutions. Russia has denied using North Korean weapons in the war against Ukraine. Amid rising concerns over deepening military ties between Russia and North Korea, Pyongyang has officially confirmed that Russian President Vladimir Putin will soon be visiting North Korea for the first time in more than 2 decades. Choi Min-jung tells us more about the visit's implications for the region.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is soon expected to visit North Korea. Following North Korean Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hee's recent visit to Russia, Pyongyang state-run media announced Sunday that Putin expressed his intention to visit Pyongyang soon and that the regime is ready to welcome the Russian president.
President Putin expressed his deep thanks once again for the invitation by the chairman of the State Affairs Kim Jong-un to visit Pyongyang at a convenient time, and expressed his willingness to visit the Democratic People's Republic of Korea at an early date.
South Korea's Unification Ministry said Monday that security concerns are growing with increasing cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow.
South Korea and the international community are closely watching the areas where military cooperation is being strengthened in violation of the UN Security Council resolutions. I'd like to reiterate that Russia has a greater responsibility as a permanent member of the UN Security Council.
The regime's state media also hinted that Russia expressed gratitude for the North's support in the war against Ukraine, amid allegations that Pyongyang provided weapons to Moscow.
The Russian Federation expressed deep thanks to the DPRK for extending its full support and solidarity to the Russian government and its people for the special military operation in Ukraine.
One expert says that South Korea, the U.S., and Japan need to take action to stem the growing cooperation.
If North Korea and Russia's close relationship cannot be controlled even to a certain extent, South Korea, the U.S., and Japan will very likely face significant challenges. Although their relationship is centered on military cooperation, it can be an important turning point that drives cooperation in all directions: military, diplomatic, security, political, economic, and social sectors as well.
Experts say it is likely that the visit will come after the Russian presidential election scheduled for March. Putin's trip to North Korea would reciprocate Kim's visit to Russia last September and would be his first visit to the regime in 24 years. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
U.S. stocks rallied on Monday with the Dow Jones Industrial Average topping 38,000 for the first time, while the S&P 500 also reached an all-time high. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also rose on positive economic sentiment. Choi Soo-hyung has the details.
U.S. stocks climbed on Monday local time to set new records. The Dow Jones Industrial Average advanced above 138 points to finish at 38,001.81, closing above the 38,000 level for the first time. The S&P 500 reached an all-time high, closing at above 4,850. The Nasdaq Composite climbed 49.32 points to above 15,360. Last Friday, the S&P 500 index broke its previous record set 2 years ago. Technology stocks are rising despite the adjustment in expectations regarding possible interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. In the S&P 500, stocks in industries such as real estate, finance, and healthcare were all up. However, stock market experts have expressed concerns that stock valuations are too high and that companies' actual performances may not support these levels.
Unfortunately, what comes with that is excessive valuations, as the S&P 500 is now trading at a PE above 23. Now, that doesn't mean that the market can't or won't move higher. It just means that attractively valued stocks are going to be a little bit more difficult to find.
According to data from the Conference Board global think tank, the U.S. leading economic index in December showed a decline for the 21st consecutive month, indicating economic recession in the U.S. IBM, Netflix, and Tesla are about to release their business result this week, while earnings are expected to decrease along with a slowdown in growth. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's wholesale prices rose again in December on the back of high prices of fresh produce and energy bills. According to data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, the country's producer price index rose by 0.1% compared to the previous month. It is the first time in 3 months the figure has seen an on-month rise. This was backed by a surge in prices of fresh produce such as strawberries, which more than doubled in price, and a nearly 7% rise in industrial energy bills. Now, South Korea will see a change in government regulations in favor of consumers. People will be able to shop at large supermarkets every Sunday again if they wish and could get more financial incentives when buying a smartphone. Shin-young reports.
For the first time in more than a decade, the regulation requiring large supermarkets to close for 2 days per month on alternate weekends will be eased. This announcement comes from South Korea's Office for Government Policy Coordination, which hosted an open debate on Monday with citizens and government officials focusing on reforming regulations related to people's livelihoods.
Now that online shopping has become widespread, measures should be taken to ensure the people's freedom of choice, as over 2/3 of the population feels the need for improvements in these regulations.
Under the current law, large supermarkets are forced to close their stores for 2 days a month on weekends. They are also not allowed to operate their stores from midnight to 10 a.m., and online deliveries are banned during this time. Originally, the regulations were introduced to protect small and traditional markets. However, the landscape of market competition has shifted from supermarkets competing with small markets to a competition of offline versus online shopping. The government has decided to make grocery shopping on weekends more convenient by scrapping the regulation that forced big retailers to close on weekends, allowing for closures on weekdays. Also, to activate early morning deliveries in non-capital regions, online delivery will be permitted during the restricted operation hours as well. Meanwhile, there has been opposition from the labor sector regarding closures on weekdays, arguing that it violates workers' health rights while questioning the economic benefits of the change. The government has also decided to scrap the Mobile Device Distribution Improvement Act 10 years after the law came into effect. The act was introduced to prevent discrimination among users by prohibiting mobile carriers from providing excessive discounts or illegal subsidies to customers. However, it'll be removed to alleviate the cost burden of purchasing mobile devices amid increasing smartphone prices. During the debate on Monday, the government decided to make books and web content more affordable by excluding web content from its fixed book pricing system, which restricts book price discounts beyond a certain level. 신하영, Arirang News.
Moving on to the Youth Winter Olympics in Gangwon province and bring our focus on the Olympic Cauldron. Often seen as a symbol of the Games, it takes on an even more special significance at Gangwon 2024. Song Yujin tells us why.
These red and orange flames may look real, but they're anything but. What you're seeing is the first digital cauldron in Olympic history. Shortly after the final torchbearer lit the actual cauldron during Friday's opening ceremony of the 2024 Gangwon Winter Youth Olympic Games, the digital cauldron also burst into flames.
The flames look so authentic. I can't tell if it's the heat from the flames or just the overall excitement for the games, but I can definitely feel the warmth here.
This is part of Gangwon 2024's aim to host a green and sustainable Olympics.
If we were to use the traditional cauldron, we would need to use gas. As we've become more conscious and aware about the environment, we wanted to try something new.
The secret behind the digital cauldron? Anamorphic technology.
Anamorphic technology is a specialized video technique that gives a three-dimensional appearance to a flat surface. So while the digital cauldron is essentially a cube-shaped electronic display board, it creates the illusion that the flames are burning inside when you look at it.
The cauldron mirrors the actual weather conditions based on data from the Korea Meteorological Administration, like this if it rains. But rest assured, the flames won't be extinguished. All of this is controlled by cloud servers. A remote data center operating through cloud computing determines what's displayed on the screen. Gangwon 2024 has set up 5 servers, 3 in Korea and 2 in Japan, in case of emergencies. As for the actual cauldron, its embers are housed inside a lantern at the athletes' village, blending tradition with innovation. So the digital cauldron will burn in front of the Gangneung Hockey Center until the closing ceremony on February 1st. Song Yujin, Arirang News, Gangneung.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In China, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake shook China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region in the early hours of Tuesday. No deaths have been reported so far, while Xinjiang Railway Authority immediately suspended dozens of trains. According to the China Earthquake Network Center, the strong quake of above 7 magnitude hit Wuxi County in Aksu Prefecture at 2:09 a.m. on Tuesday. A succession of aftershocks topping a 5.3 magnitude followed the main earthquake. The epicenter, with a depth of 22 kilometers, was situated in the mountainous border area between China and Kyrgyzstan. In temperatures of around -10 degrees Celsius, local residents of the Aksu area rushed to open space for safety, while firefighters were dispatched immediately. In Cameroon, the world's first routine vaccine program against malaria began on Monday. Around 40 years in the making, The new malaria vaccine approved by the World Health Organization will be offered free of charge to all infants of up to 6 months old in Cameroon. The symbolic first malaria jab was given to a baby girl named Daniela on Monday at a health clinic in the country's capital, Yaoundé. After decades of research, GlaxoSmithKline developed the RTSS vaccine, which according to US research is expected to be effective in over 36% of cases. While Cameroon is the first country to run wide-scale malaria vaccinations, 19 other countries aim to begin jabs this year, according to Gavi, a global vaccine alliance. In Africa, malaria kills around 600,000 people every year, with children under 5 accounting for at least 80% of the deaths. In Ecuador, a military operation seized a record 22 metric tons of cocaine on Sunday against a backdrop of chaotic internal armed conflict against organized crime. Officials confirmed on Monday that the seizure was one of the country's biggest narcotics busts, which followed 6 months of preparation and surveillance. Ecuador's military on Sunday publicized videos on social media site X showing warehouses of plastic-wrapped and boxed packages. The armed forces stated that the drugs were distributed in 733 individual parcels to be transported to Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Ecuador is still under a 60-day state of emergency as it battles to control organized crime cartels in the wake of an outbreak of violence across the country. In the US, fierce winter storms across the country have left at least 92 dead over the past week. According to CBS News, there were 25 weather-related fatalities in Tennessee and 16 in Oregon, with both states under a state of emergency following the deadly ice storms. Deaths have been also reported in Mississippi, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Washington, Kentucky, Wisconsin, New York, and New Jersey. Tens of thousands of people across the US were also left without power and access to water due to the weather. Icy conditions are expected to ease off in the coming days. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Hope you're well covered up from head to toe. Korea is in the grip of a piercing cold snap. Seoul saw morning feels like temperatures going down to minus 20 degrees Celsius, and it will remain freezing all day with sharp winds. Making matters worse for those in Jeollado provinces and Jeju, there's more snow. Mountainous regions on Jeju could see more than 50 centimeters. Jeollado could receive up to 20 centimeters through tomorrow. Snow alerts are in place in those areas, so if you're traveling to Jeollado and Jeju, check your travel schedules in advance for any changes there could be. Athletes in Gangwon-do need to brace for extreme cold. Especially those in Pyeongchang will notice an even colder afternoon than yesterday, with a high of minus 14 degrees Celsius. Seoul gets up to minus 7, and even Jeju only tops out at 2 degrees this afternoon. It will feel like being in a freezer through Thursday before easing off on Friday afternoon. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
It seems like the perfect night continues for K-pop girl group SSERAFIM, with their hit tune Perfect Night spending 11 consecutive weeks in the Billboard charts and reaching its highest position at number 18 on the latest Global 200 chart. It also had a month-long charting streak at home, topping multiple categories on Melon, South Korea's largest music streaming service. It is the first purely English song without any Korean lyrics to achieve that feat on domestic charts since Dynamite by BTS, with both tunes setting perfect examples in reaching fans at home and abroad. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.